Captivated, I played it down. We'll fool it around. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Awaken on this beautiful, nice, cool summer day. We'll take it. My name is Jenna. If we haven't met, I'm the executive pastor here at Awaken. Today is Sacred Sunday, so once a month we take down the screen and use bulletins. So there should be some folks walking around passing those out if you didn't grab one. And I will be leading us this morning in our call to worship. Our call to worship is from a book that I've referred to many times. It's entitled Meditations of the Heart by Howard Thurman. The one today will be adapted from a reading entitled God is with me. So if you are able, I'd like to invite you to stand as we prepare our hearts this morning. God is with me. All around me are certain expressions of orderliness, of beauty, of wonder and delight. The regularity of sunrise and sunset, the fragile loveliness of a wisp of cloud fringed with silver, the wonder of day dawning and the delight of companionship. All these are his handiwork. God is with me. Again and again, I am stirred by some experience of tenderness, some simple act of gratuitous kindness moving from one man to another, some quiet deed of courage, wisdom, or sacrifice, or some striking moment of unstudied joy that bursts forth in the contagion of merry laughter. I know God is with me. God is with me. Always, there is the persistent need for some deep inner assurance, some whisper in my heart, some stirring of the spirit within me that renews, recreates, and steadies. Then, whatever betides of light or shadow, I can look out on life with quiet eyes. God is with me. Amen.
We're going to sing a few songs together. Elise is going to lead us. I invite you to sing with us.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentations. I hear the real, though The peace of Christ makes fresh my heart, a fountain ever springing. All things are mine since I am His. How can I keep from singing through all the tumult and the strife? I hear them
Thanks everyone for singing. We're going to go to our time of blessing for the kids. We also want to invite the kids to their kids worship time. So first through fifth grade over on this side, and younger than that over on that side. Was I close? Kind of close-ish. All right, let's sing the song of blessing to our kids. May God give you eyes to see all that is good, all that is good. The courage for everything. May you be strong, may you be strong. May God give you ears to hear His loving voice, speaking all around you, all around, and deep inside. And before you take a seat, take a second and greet someone around you. Somewhere in the deep part of somewhere, you live there. Look out for me. The colors caught my eyes again. Is it what you wanted? Is it?
All right. Friends, we're going to come back together. I always feel like a real bad guy ending everyone's fun conversations. Well, good morning again and welcome. A special welcome to you if you are visiting or new this morning. It can be a big deal to come to a church, and so we're really glad you're here. If anyone is interested in connecting at Awaken, there's a connection card in front of you, or you'll notice a QR code as well. You can use that to fill out a connection card, or if you have any tithes or offerings this morning. We're always super grateful for those. If you do fill out a connection card, someone from our staff will contact you. We would love to take you out for a beverage of your choice and get to know you a little bit better. If you have physical offerings or a physical connection card, those can go in the black boxes by each of the exits. I just have a couple of things this morning to let you know about what's happening in this community through the month of June. It's almost summer, you guys. It's wild. We are halfway through the year. Let me say it different. Something that we love doing every summer is we host something called Camp Create for our kids. So we have a bunch of artists and creatives in the community who offer their skills to teach your kids all sorts of fun things. They take your children for 2 hours. It's great. So our first round of it is coming up on June 14th, Nature Art Journaling. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like it's going to be really cool. That will be from 10 to noon here. And then on June 26th, there will be a watercolor painting session, 6 to 7:30, so in the evening on that night. You can register and find out more information on the website. contact Sarah at Awaken West 7th with any questions. On June 15th from 10 to noon, Heidi Akpayete hosts a group of moms here in the community. So if you have a baby under 1, they hang out in the nursery for a couple hours, 10 to noon, and just talk, get to know each other. I joined mostly because that's my office. It's really fun, good conversation. I learned about Bluey. So lots of Bluey conversation if you want. And then finally, we are bringing back for the summer, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Summer Edition. So for those of you who have no idea what that is, we host something periodically where a small group of people get together and host dinner in their homes. You'll know like whose house you're going to, but you won't know who you're having dinner with. For those of you who feel like you want to die going to an event like that, it actually is really fun. I went this last time when we hosted it. It's just like a small dinner, and you get to know people you would never get to know otherwise. So summer edition means not a full dinner. It'll be more like appetizers and desserts. If you have a deck or a patio, we are currently looking for hosts. So the actual event will be July 26th at 6:30, but right now we're looking for hosts. So if you are interested in opening your home, you can register for that by June 26th. And then finally, we have had a heck of a time as a staff figuring out how to navigate summer. Do we do one gathering or 2? So mostly we just want to give you a heads up that we are paying attention to numbers and we do not want to make a decision to go to one gathering and then need to change it. So this is mostly saying check your emails and maybe look at the website before you come. That won't start until July though if we do end up making that change. So just a heads up. Okay, I'm finally done talking. Today is really, this is the second time we're doing it, a beautiful morning. We have Pastor Kelly, who's with us, and Mary Maker, who is connected to Pastor Kelly through the organization he leads, Center for Leadership and Neighborhood Engagement. Pastor Kelly, we've known for a number of years. You've maybe heard him teach here before. He is a trusted friend and companion in the work, a mentor to Micah and myself. And we get to hear from the two of them today. I'll just leave it at that. We're super excited to have you. So give them an awaken welcome. Oh, sorry, Mary. Got it okay? There you go.
Well, good morning. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you at Awaken again today, and to have with us a very special gift that is really going to be a blessing to you, Mary Maker. I'm the director of the Center for Leadership and Neighborhood Engagement, which I started just a week before the pandemic. Prior to that, I served the congregation Redeemer Lutheran Church in North Minneapolis for 20 years, a wonderful ministry, and I'm blessed, very blessed, to have met Mary 2 years ago when she was one of our interns from St. Olaf College. And Mary is a speaker with the United Nations with refugees. She's just an amazing woman and leader. So one of the things I met with Pastor Micah several weeks ago when he invited me to come in and be the teaching pastor for today. And I think he had Jenna's approval, I don't know. But as he was talking and he had invited me, I asked about a scripture. He said, any scripture that you find meaningful. So that was wide open. And then I knew that your congregation is a commitment to refugees and exploring what relationship and how you might accompany refugees. And so immediately I thought of Mary and what a gift it would be if we could be so fortunate to have her be really our teacher today. and I get the privilege of standing up here with her. So what we picked for a text was the book of Ruth. It's 4 chapters. It's an incredible story about women. And why that was so meaningful to me is there's a statement that Ruth and Naomi share. As Naomi was mother to 2 sons, she went from Bethlehem and to a country called Moab. And there, Mary, her husband, and 2 sons, they died. And back in biblical times, the security, the stability, the hope for a woman was whether or not she was attached to a male, because that was the stability of income and social respect. Where her sons died and her husband died, and there was that need for Naomi to go back to Bethlehem, where there was little hope for a future, but there certainly was no hope for a future in Moab. So that's the story, and it's a story of accompaniment, and it also, think about that in our centering this morning from Howard Thurman, where he talks about God is with us. And that's at the center not only of this story, but the story of our lives. Particularly when we go through those difficult places of challenge, to remember God is with us. And to think about, how do we know that? How do we experience that? And out of that comes our story. Naomi and Mary and Oprah have a story. And we're blessed to have that story. And then lastly, I'm saying more than I anticipate saying. So I'm a pastor, I'm a seminary graduate, learned theology and all those things. And so I had framed for a couple of weeks ago now with Mary that this is how we're going to do it, right? And I'm going to give the lead in, I'm going to explain everything. And I sat down with Mary this morning around our dinner table in our home, and I was listening to Mary's story. And I realized in so many ways, Mary knows the story better than I do. And she knows how God walks with women better than I do. And she knows how God walks with refugees better than I do. And so, Mary, I invite you to stand up and do what you do. And please teach us.
Thank you. So I'm Mary Baker. I am a refugee graduate from St. Olaf College. So if we have any oldies in the house, I just graduated a few weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, I'm about to become a menace to society right now. In a good way, though. And when Pastor Kelly talked to me about the book of Ruth, I'm like, I have lived this book my entire life. My mom used to be a deacon in the church, and she would make us read, Genesis to Revelation, and every time, my mom is a theater person, so every time she kind of like tells us a story, she would bring her theatrics into it, and I'm like, Mom, stop, But like, she always related to every single story. I was born in South Sudan, and if you know the history of Sudan has been experiencing war since the 40s. Always, constantly fighting for a good cause, for a bad cause. And I find myself in this crossroads of being a child born in war. My actual name is Nyiriak, which means war. Parents back home, or back in South Sudan, they name their kids based off what's happening around them. And all the parents in Sudan have really interesting names for their kids. I am War. My younger sister, Achol, means death. I have a friend called Thijin, which means jail. I have a friend called Kwang, which means alcohol. And all these names is a way for them to document their journey. When I was thinking about the book of Ruth, I'm like, how do I relate to it? It's not a typical refugee story. But then I go to verse 16 where Ruth is telling Naomi, like, wherever you go, I will go. Your God shall be my God. Your people shall be my people. I will lodge wherever you lodge. And for a minute, I take a step back and think, what does it take to go to a foreign land? What does it take for you to leave a language that you know, to go to a land where you might not be accepted? You don't understand the language in that land. You don't know what God they worship in that land. To strip yourself off of your own self and to gain this new personality. And then I look at my mom. When we left Sudan, for me as a kid, I'm going through like, oh, we are meeting new people. I'm an extrovert, as you can see. Like, I'm like, okay, we're on this journey. We are having a fun time. And I look at her, and her eyes are teary. For her, everything tastes like war. Everything smells like war. She's on the lookout. What's next for us? How do I ensure that this child survives? How do I ensure that the new people accept us? For me, in this new land, I will be the immigrant, sucking our country dry of milk, coming to take our spaces and our jobs. That's what is in her mind. She doesn't want to leave home. But when your home becomes the mouth of a shark, you have to leave. You have to seek a space. And it takes so much to leave that behind. I found refuge in Kakuma refugee camp, which is located in northwestern part of Kenya, has a population of over 250,000 refugees from 10 plus countries. And I become a part of these statistics, the numbers. Millions of refugees have been displaced this year. And I am sadly part of that number, and people don't know who Mary is. People just know the refugees from Ukraine, the refugees from Jordan, displaced people from the hurricanes here in the United States. That is still being a refugee, fleeing from the United States, going to Canada, seeking for insulin and medical assistance. You're going to a new land in a foreign place that you have no idea whether you will be accepted. And I hated languages so much. Hated languages. Like my mom would be like, now we have to study Amharic because we had to go to Ethiopia first. And I'm right there kind of trying to understand the alphabets and learning. I'm like, I'm tired of learning. I don't want to assimilate. I hate assimilating. Everyone will look at me, oh my God, Mary, you're so strong. How did you get to the United States? You're so resilient. And I hate that word. I hate that word, resilience, because I didn't want to. I don't want to be resilient. I just wanted things to also happen for me. But it happens that I found myself in this Ruth story, fleeing home. We don't talk about the story of Orpah. She chose to go back to Moab. And Naomi and Ruth become a unique story because it's a story of togetherness. It's a story of sisterhood, of finding a new space together, seeking for security. When I first came to Kakuma refugee camp, there was no gunshots. I was still getting fidgety anytime I hear an ambulance or a police car coming around me because I'm taken back to the landfills. And it's all reliving my story over and over again. But here I am in a new space that is secluded from the rest of the country. It's a prison of its own. You come to the refugee camp for 1 month turns into 10, into 2 years, into 20 years, and you realize you are going to die here. Being a statistic, being a nobody. When I came to the camp, I thought we were going to find a job and then we would go back home. But that doesn't happen to be the case. So we are in this land. I have to learn Swahili, which is the national language, and English at the same time. And I'm like, how can I win against this system? I know Ruth at the end finds security. She gets married to Boaz. And the only reason she gets married to Boaz is it was a divine intervention that had already been planned out because Boaz happens to have a relation with his husband, and they were following this law in Deuteronomy where if your brother or your cousin dies, you have to marry their wife to ensure that the lineage continues, right? And she has to find security in this, and that's how her and Naomi gets to be secured in this new land. And who knows that she's going to become the great-grandmother of Jesus at the end, right? That is a story that ends up well in the end. In the refugee camp, that doesn't happen often. When I tell my story, every time I have to remind people, I am a story of success that actually got out within the camp, got a college degree, and I'm here. I work as a goodwill ambassador for the UN. And every time I'm in different countries or like speaking to different spaces, I have to remind my audience that my story is a glimpse of the refugee experience, that I am the fortunate refugee that gets to get out, and so many get stuck in that space and die in that space, still hoping that they are going to make it to their promised land, but they end up not ever making it. When I look at the story of Ruth, the sisterhood, the support system that happened for her, she could not have survived in Bethlehem without the people that she met, without the support system that she had to cling on to. In the camp, here I am with my mother, kind of trying to make a new life for ourselves and my younger sister. And my mom is, as I told you, she's really dramatic, and was like, what wedding is happening? What's happening this week? Where should we go? Or things like that. And we started to like depend on the people around us. A new church to attend, new offerings to give, what is being provided by the United Nations. And I remember this one time, because this really like carries me through my next journey. Like they were distributing clothes because as a refugee you literally need everything from housing to clothes to food to all that stuff. And this one newly fresh donated clothes from the United States. So we are all there running 3 a.m. Kind of to line up. Everyone is just queuing up to just receive these clothes because you have been on a journey, you're tired and all that stuff. So we have 2 huge trucks at Field Post 2, and my mom gets in and starts to pick some clothes, and she got this huge t-shirt, and she's like, Mary, this is going to be yours. Navy blue, Nike. Just do it. I'm not paid by Nike, so just putting it out there. But I'm like, I looked at that phrase. I couldn't even read anything, but once I learned the meaning, I really wanted to do it in life. I didn't want the same cycle of poverty to kind of dawn on me. I grew up from a very male patriarchal society, so I grew up being told, be silent, lower your head, don't be seen, just be there. And I wanted to be seen so badly. I wanted people to not just see me, but really see me in that very space. I was looking for those support systems to give me that validation that I do matter and I'm not just a number. I wanted that. I wanted to succeed like Ruth at the end or something like that. And here I am in a refugee camp where the number of students that make it to high school is impossible. We have 96% of refugee kids enrolled in primary school. Out of the 96%, only 6% make it to high school. And from the 6%, 1% make it to college. I graduated high school in 2015. And during this time, my parents went back. My mom went back to Sudan because home never leaves you. And she's always kind of looking to see whether it's safe now. Is it safe now? I want to go back because I can't survive in this new land. In this new land, I can't fish. In this new land, I'm not allowed to work. And she's like, I want to feel like a human being again. So she went back to home, and sadly, I lost all my parents in the war. And I had to find my place in society and to kind of break through barriers and make it to college. But here I am, graduated, and not being able to afford college because college is too far of a dream. Went back to the camp, decided to become a teacher. I wasn't trained. I couldn't teach math because I would be lying to those kids. I taught drama. I'm like, oh, give me the drama part. I will teach it with no stress. So I taught drama in the class, and I also taught biology, the only science I can teach. And I would come to class with the plants, and I'm like, we are going to talk about photosynthesis today, And I talked so passionately. One of the students actually brought me back to my senses because she's like, Madam Mary, you talk. They call me Madam Mary. So I was like, Madam Mary, you talk so passionately about education. Why aren't you in college? And I know that was a dead end, that I wasn't getting out of this wilderness. And they too recognize it. These are kids displaced from war, and every day they wake up to go to a classroom just to feel the safety of education. I wanted to always feel that. But I knew I wanted more. I wanted to go to college and do something. So I started applying for every and any opportunity that I got. I got into a program in Rwanda, Bridge to Rwanda. And the only reason I got in is they were providing lunch. And I was like, okay, I'll do the interview, I ended up in Rwanda for a 16-month program. And they told me, if you don't earn a scholarship, we'll deport you back to the camp. I'm like, oh boy, I have 4 younger sisters that I have to take care of. Going back to the camp means not being able to work, not being able to determine my own life. So I had to do those SATs, even if I hated the math portion of it. But I was able to go to St. Olaf, Minnesota. No one warned me about Minnesota, that it was cold, So I make it here to the United States, and everyone in my village is like, you're going to America. It was their wildest dream. And I'm in college knowing it's not just me in college. It's an entire community with me. And here I come to the United States and I'm like, I need support systems. There's no way I'm going to succeed like that. My host mom, who had signed up to be my host parent, Kristen, I know you're watching somewhere, she picks me up at the airport. It was 70 degrees and I was cold. I'm like, oh dang. She's like, she's not going to survive Minnesota. This is going to be really hard for her, And I don't know if she knows what that meant to me, to have a mother figure to welcome me to the United States. She packed up my suitcase the next day. They took me on a tour to St. Olaf to go see how the school is. And I'm just like, watching everything with my teeth and kind of like just going through. I'm like, wow, I'm going to be in this school. That's great. And she took me to school. And she would send me personalized notes at least 4 times in a semester, and I would hang them on my wall, kind of to feel seen and to feel acknowledged. In that moment, she would bake some cookies and put them in my mailbox. That was the support system I needed. Someone to see me in that very moment. How many immigrants come to the United States and end up failing? They're coming to a foreign land, a foreign language, foreign system. I had a friend the other time, and she just gave birth in New York, and she was telling me, I wish my mom was here, because this is my first kid. I wish she was here to help me through. How do you become that support system for the new people around you? How do you see the people around you? And sometimes when I talk about the refugee story, most people it's a sensitive topic right now, right? And most people don't want to talk about it like that much. But yet we have to, because the refugee is you, the refugee is me, and it happens every day around us. The United States is really big, so sometimes when you see someone being displaced because of probably the Texas, when everything froze down, and people lost their homes and everything and have to move to a new state, back home you would be definitely a refugee, just moving and going to a new space. When you're experiencing abuse and you have to leave your house to go, you're being displaced. And you, at that very moment, need the best support ever. And all of you become that part of a support system. I was giving a talk 3 weeks ago at Duolingo for We Rise Awards. And we talked about what it means to rise together. And I feel like the story of Ruth teaches us to rise together as women, as men, as people that can see each other. Jesus talked about the good neighbor, and that means like seeing your neighbor at the very most time of need. Do you ever take time here in the congregation to actually see people around you? Not just the Minnesotan eyes, I'm like, oh, you're good? Don't disturb my peace. Huh? Kind of thing. But you actually take time to know what's happening to the person next to you, to really see what is actually happening to them, and how can you become a Naomi or a Ruth in their life and see them through the challenge that they're going through. I was able to graduate because of the systems and the people that came through for me. 1 week ago, I had my graduation party. I haven't processed it yet. And my host mom threw out this entire party, and I'm like, this is what happens in America? I love this, and everyone was giving me gifts. I'm like, I need to graduate again. It was a fun moment, but in that very moment, I felt seen. I felt people actually celebrated with me, and I'm still soaking it in. I'm about to move to New York, and I'm like, because I'm a theater major, moving to New York, and I will go and rule there, but understand the subway, then rule. I don't know how it's going to work out, but of course, I'll be looking for support system at that very moment. But I was able to specifically graduate because there were people around me. In Northfield, someone was like, I'll help you drive. I'm like, the first time I tried driving with my host dad and he was sweating. And I'm out there, I'm like, let's sing as we go. I'm like, Mary, no singing. Focus on the road. I'm like, okay, this is really fun. And I'm like, okay, the gas pedal is my best part. I love this. But like, even just navigating things like that. Every time I went shopping, it was overwhelming because America has so many choices. I just want cheese. And they have so many, do you want shredded? Do you want grated? I don't know what, like, do you want 2%? I'm like, just give me milk. I need it. That's all I need. But it's really overwhelming. And to understand this system it's really hard. And all the people came in for me to help me navigate it. And I think that's why I graduated. I wouldn't have done it on my own. Most of my friends will be like, do you want to meet me for dinner? Add me to your Gcalc. I'm like, what is that? Google Calendar? Can we just meet at 6? But like just to be able to navigate that, how to sign up for classes, how to, seek help around me, how to drive, how to go shopping and actually be mindful of how to even have a credit card, and things like that. It's something that I really needed, and they really became like the Naomi and Ruth in my life. And I needed that. At Duolingo, someone told the story of a starfish where there was a little girl by the lake collecting, I don't know if it's goldfish or starfish, one of the fish. Like, he will take it and throw it back into the sea. And her father came and like, what are you doing? It doesn't make sense. Look at all the starfish that have been washed ashore. And she's like, well, it does matter to this little starfish. And she will throw it into the water. His father went, left, but went and came back with the entire village, kind of like pick all the starfish and then throw it into the water. And I hope you get to become that person in somebody else's life. One part of that story that most people don't realize is that the fish know where to go. It just needed a little push into the water, and it will swim its way through to where it needed to go. Most people right here know where you want to go, but sometimes you lose hope in yourself. When I was in the camp in 2015, when I graduated from high school, I needed a push. I needed someone to see me in that very same space. It took me 4 years to come to college, from 2015 to 2019. But in those 4 years, I could have easily given up. Not that I could have easily, I did give up. That's why I don't like the word resilient, because I know what that feels like to be in that space. For me, time was slow. For someone that is seeking help, time is slow for them. For someone that is seeing the situation like, oh my God, just get a job. But when you are in that situation, you understand it better. It's slow, it doesn't move, and you want to be seen, you want to be acknowledged at that very moment. I'll leave it at that.
I want to do 2 more things before we wrap up. And one of them is the story of Ruth and Naomi is Naomi began over here in Bethlehem. She moved to another country over here called Moab. And in that movement, there was an understanding of God and culture and life in Bethlehem. When she went to Moab, there's a different, maybe a deeper understanding of life and faith as she encountered and lived life in Moab. And I'm wondering what you might be able to share from your experience, like growing up in a refugee camp, growing up in a family where there's Christian and Muslim together. What might you share about our understanding of God over here as covenant or Lutheran or Christian, and experience in relationship with people that don't share the same belief or ethnicity or culture?
Growing up, I always saw religion as an enemy, one that divides people. And that happens a lot today, where people see, I am on the right track and you're not. And the other person also thinks the same. You're lost. You need to be saved too. And I saw religion as something that had already separated my country. The North is Muslim, the South is Christian. My dad is Muslim, my mom is Christian. I'm like, how am I even able to navigate this space as the child? And for them, they joined religion for one thing: survival. For them, everything tasted like war, everything smelled like war. And so for them, it's security. How do I get secured? That was my first encounter to religion, to Christianity, to Islam. That's how I got introduced. And I wanted it to change for me because I felt like God is beyond that. It's like theater. When you're up in the stage performing, is it The Mystery of Edwin Drood or like any other like show that you're in, people see you. People see each other within the crowd. It's the act of seeing and being seen. It's the act of Ubuntu, where I am because you are. And I'm like, I felt like God presented himself to me like that, through seeing me and helping me see people around me and instilling in me that I need to be a good neighbor to everybody around me. I need to welcome the stranger into my life because they need me. And I wanted to see it that way. All my siblings, we all have different religions. My brother was probably an SDA. I didn't know I was a Lutheran, but my mom would say it most of the time, so I have no idea. And I'm in that space of confusion because they were also confused on what that kind of manifests itself to them. When I came to the camp, my mom really got into the Bible as a source of security. You can imagine you're away from home. You're in this new strange land and you have no one to actually hold on to. And so she hold on to her Bible and would make up all kinds of characters based off whatever she reads. And she's like, that's me. I'm like, Mom. But like she was able to find security in that, and it kind of helped her not long for the home she left. She felt safe and secure, and I wanted the religion to do that for me. A place for security, for safety, and a place to feel seen, and a place to see other people. That's how it manifested itself to me. I got introduced to religion in that way. And my mom baptized me Mary later on. Someone told me today it means a rebel. I love it. But I got a new name just kind of like to set a path for myself and to have a different relationship with God, one that is personal between me and them, and not one that is influenced by politics and my country. That's how I started to live it. Yeah.
Thank you. Speaking of rebellion, or rebel, and disruption, one of the things for me growing up Lutheran in Minnesota is we have a strong adherence to time. Church is an hour, whatever. So I want to disrupt that for a moment and invite the congregation one question that you would ask of Mary, and then Mary will respond to that question.
This is your chance. Don't be shy.
Wait.
Yes.
You want to say that?
I was just wondering if you have any family, siblings, or family that live in Minnesota or in the U.S. that you're able to see?
Yes, so I have, the refugee camp has a population of 250,000 refugees, and most of them, the camp, Kakuma Refugee Camp, was started in 1992 in Kenya, and has been able to harbor the lost boys of South Sudan, if you've ever heard that story. So we have a lot of lost boys of South Sudan that are currently in the United States, and one of my nephews happened to be here in Iowa. So during my graduation, they all pulled up, and I'm like, I have even grandkids. I'm like, why? And the name Mary fits so well, like Grandma Mary. I'm like, no, please don't go there, because I have nephews that are in their 50 years since my grandfather had 4 wives and 33 kids. So the generation is just like exploded and all over. And sometimes it's hard to deny them because they're actually first blood. We all share the same grandfather. So I was able to meet them during my graduation. They all came. But one thing that they also said was, we couldn't graduate. And that's what dawned to me, like, how do I come from the refugee camp and graduate from college, and we have immigrants that are here that are not able to? Is that lack of support system to help them through, to navigate that strange land, right? I have 4 younger sisters that I take care of. I come from a family of 17. Oh, God. It's a lot of us. We always have the inner circle turning against this person this week, and the next week, this other person. So it was really hard for me to come to the United States from a family that fights over like small little things to being in a dorm room alone. I was painful, especially during COVID. I'm like, why? Does it have to be during COVID? Yes. So I have 3 younger sisters that I kind of like pay for their tuition and house and all that stuff. And I have other 17 minus 4, math, 13. I have other 13 siblings from all over the world. Others got resettled in Australia, but most are still in the camp. Yeah.
Is there one more going?
Okay.
Oh,
What does home look like for you now? Like, what does building home look like for you right now?
That is the one question that I usually avoid. Home. 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 I don't know what is home. I don't know where is home. But I feel like I've been kind of trying to create my own. In the new people that I meet, I find home in it, from my host family to the new friends that I've made in this country. Every country that I've been, I find home in people and in the people that I see. But anytime, immigration is, oh God, immigration. It's a painful journey that I will never wish upon my worst enemy, because I don't know where home is, but I know wherever I'll go, I'll make a home out of. Yes.
thank you. I find it interesting that the 2 questions related to family and home. And I think about how that's central and centers us all, family and home. Brian Stevenson wrote a book called Just Mercies, and he talks about proximity. And thinking about proximity, whether it's refugees or people of different sexual orientation, race, proximity, when we're in relationship, when we get to know others, we also get to know God. And I want to just celebrate with you as a congregation how when you gather and you learn and you teach and you do ministry, you aspire to do it in proximity. In proximity that informs how and where you see God. And I want to thank you for your ministry, and thank you, Mary, for your time today, for this experience of proximity in relationship to refugees, in relationship to ourselves, and in relationship to God. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you to the 2 of you for bringing that, for sharing that, for letting us in. We're super grateful. Well, we're going to transition now to a time of response, so just take a moment of silence to kind of soak in what we experienced and heard together, the ways we can see each other. And after that, we'll move into a time of communion. So pray with me. God, thank you for being the God who sees, who cares, who hears. We ask in these next few moments that you would speak. Amen. Well, as we transition to singing together, during this time, communion will be available to you on either side of me. There is red wine and white grape juice. All the bread is gluten-free, so you're invited to take the bread and dip it in the cup. And as you do so, remember that is the body of Christ broken for you and the blood of Christ shed for you. There's some hand sanitizer to use right as you approach. And then finally, if you are not able to make it to the station, if you want to wave your hand, I'm glad to come and serve you. So let's sing together.
Teach us your ways. Teach us your ways as we learn from one another. Learn to love each other. Teach us your ways. Join me in singing. Teach us to give. Teach us to give. Give ourselves for one another. Learn to love each other. Teach us to Teach us to weep. Teach us to weep. Let us weep with one another. Learn to love each other. Teach us to weep. Sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let us learn from one another. Learn to love each other. Teach us your ways. Hallelujah. if you're able to stand, will you please stand with us? Sing this last song together.
Lead on, O King eternal, till sin's fierce war shall cease, and holiness shall whisper the sweet amen of peace. For not with swords loud clashing, nor all of stirring drums, but deeds of love and mercy, the heavenly kingdom comes. Let your kingdom come, and your will be done, right here on the earth like it is in heaven. Lead on, O King eternal, we follow not with fears, for gladness breaks like morning where thy face appears. Let your kingdom come, and your will be done, right here on the earth like it is in heaven. Let your kingdom come, and your will be done, right here on the earth like it is in heaven. Thy cross is lifted o'er us, we journey in its light. We follow as you guide us. Lead on, O God of might.
Friends, receive these words as you go. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.